Hi there, it's Mathea Ford with Renal Diet HQ, and today I wanted to go live and talk about something I actually talked about in the Caregivers and Kidney Disease Facebook group yesterday, but I wanted to share with you because I really thought that it's a valuable kind of learning experience. So I wanted to start out with telling you kind of about my thoughts on what are the most important nutrients for chronic kidney disease diets. So I asked in the group people, like, what do you think is the most important nutrient to kind of manage when you have kidney disease? And I got back sodium and water, which kind of surprised me. I was expecting potassium and phosphorus because that's what really a lot of people focus on. I get a lot of questions about. I get a lot of, like, can you give me a list of potassium and phosphorus? And I was happy to see sodium as one of the things that people were focused on, because that is one of the things that you really should focus on to improve your kidney disease health. So sodium, salt, is listed on a label as, on a regular nutrient. It says how much is in there and how much of your daily value. So for kidney disease, you need to try to stick to between 2,000 and 2,400 milligrams per day. But basically people eat about 6,000 milligrams a day. So you need to do your best to kind of decrease that amount to get close to the 2,000. Sodium does so many things in your body. It raises your blood pressure, it causes you to retain fluids, it adds flavor to food. So I'm having a sale over at Nick and E's Kitchen right now. And if you go to nickandeskitchen.com and go over there, I've got an automatic 20% off through Sunday, November 17th in honor of Veterans Day. And so if you're in need of some spices that are salt-free, we have those over there. But so you should use salt-free spices. You should use, like peppers and cumin and curry. All those have flavor, but they don't have salt. So you're trying to add that to your foods. Another thing you can do is if it calls for salt in a recipe, test it without the salt. Try it without adding the salt. In my family, we do like bacon, and you really can't have salt-free bacon because they use salt to cure it, but they have lower sodium bacon. And so we basically buy the lower sodium bacon when we eat it, and we're kind of used to that flavor. So whenever we go out somewhere and somebody gets bacon, or we went to this place in Washington, D.C. this last week where they had a brunch, and for like $30 you could have all these little small plates, and they just kept bringing them, and one of them was bacon, and we got the bacon and it was really good, but it was super salty. So I just am here to tell you that as you get better with eating low sodium foods, you'll have less of a taste for salt, so it'll be like really evident. But anyway, use lower sodium foods, but you're not gonna be able to get the salt out of everything, because there's natural amount of salt that occurs in the soil, and also just sometimes you need it for processing. But you're gonna do better with lower sodium. You, again, can add flavor in lots of different ways, but just look for low salt recipes. Don't add salt at the table. The other thing you don't wanna do with kidney disease is you don't wanna use the potassium chloride, which is the no salt, new salt, whatever they call it, the salt replacement. That's white, because then it's adding potassium, and you don't necessarily want to add a bunch of potassium to your diet either. So what I want to encourage you to do is not start with potassium limitations, but start with sodium limitations. If you have high potassium in your blood, then yes, you need to look at potassium in food, but for the most part, Americans don't eat enough potassium. Potassium is really helpful in your body for heart and lung health and all that stuff. So don't limit potassium automatically just because you got given a list of high and low potassium foods. Don't necessarily aim to limit that. You want to the other thing that I think is an important nutrient, so I agree with water somewhat, because water is helpful to flush things out of your body, and it gets those, kind of makes it a little easier on your kidneys because you're more dilute. But the really important thing in the beginning of kidney disease especially is protein. So a lot of times we overeat protein and you want to really try to focus on getting the right amount of protein. You don't want to limit and cut out protein because protein's in a lot of different foods, but you want to aim for a certain amount. So I say this all the time, but you want to get 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 100 kilos, which would be 220 pounds, you would get 80 grams of protein a day. There's about 7 grams of protein in an ounce of meat. So that gives you about 10 to 12 ounces of meat a day. If you don't eat meat, don't worry. But you can get that protein in lots of ways. We encourage you to get high biological value protein for at least half of that. So your eggs, your cheese, your fish, your turkey, your chicken, beef, pork, those are all considered high biological value because you can easily absorb that protein. But what's happening is your body's absorbing the protein, it's taking it and breaking it down into amino acids, absorbing those, and then your body takes those and puts them back together for how it needs it. So it puts it back together into hormones or repairs your blood cells. And you have the ability to use that protein in your body. So if you don't have enough, your body can't do the repairs that it needs to do. But if you do have enough, but not too much, because what happens is that protein, as it's broken down, becomes urea, which is waste product, which is removed from your kidneys into your urine. And so you want to try to focus on getting an optimal amount of protein, which is that 0.8 grams per kilogram. That will help lower the waste product in your blood and help improve your health as far as maybe help you lose some weight, maybe help you do a little different diet. But I would encourage you to stop trying to cut out all your fruits and vegetables, but do something that is going to be more helpful, which is the protein and the sodium. You want to just eat healthier, eat more greens, eat more vegetables, less salt. You can use the unsaturated fats, so like avocados and olive oil can help add some flavor. You can have flavored olive oils sometimes. Add flavor to your food. You can add that, oil and vinegar to your salads to give them some flavor without having a lot of extra salt in there. And then the vegetables are very filling. So anyway, I just wanted to go over that. The other thing I wanted to talk about today was last week I went to Washington, D.C., and I met with my senator. And I got to tell you that before it, I was nervous, what's going to happen. And I think a lot of times we don't advocate for kidney health or talk to our senators and our congresspeople because we think that they just don't care, when truly they are waiting for us to tell them what we would want them to focus on. So I would just encourage you that if you are interested and you have, you think that you didn't get enough information about kidney disease, you think that the world needs to do a better job of identifying it and sooner and helping people get help with it, write to your congresspeople and let them know this is important to you. They are waiting to hear from you. So, and no political one way or the other, their job is to represent us. And so we need to tell them kind of what to do to represent us. So, and third thing is when I was in Washington, I went to the ASN meeting and I was part of a poster for Renal Mate. And it's a new LEP program that we're working on. We did some videos, so I'm excited, and I'll talk to you about that. We're going to relaunch in January and do, it's like an intimate coaching program for people with kidney disease. So I'm looking forward to that, and I will tell you more about that when it comes. But today's lesson is really just to focus on sodium and protein intake, especially if you have chronic kidney disease, like stage 3, stage 4. And then just do everything you can to be as healthy as you can. So take your medications, control your diabetes, control your heart disease, all those things together. So thanks so much, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks.